What is going on, guys? Today I am finally re-continuing the series that I started a little while ago. It all started with the How Strong is Monkey D. Luffy video, followed by the Zoro and Sanji video, and now I'm going to do the How Strong is Brook. And unfortunately, since we do not know his surname, I cannot actually put a D really anywhere in his name that makes sense, so I can't troll people this time. I apologize for that. I know everyone looks forward to that. Despite only having an 83 million berry bounty, I would consider him one of the stronger members of the crew. In fact, I would put him at number 5 behind Jinbei, and Jinbei, while he is technically a part of the crew, I guess, he really isn't in Wano, despite the fact that everyone's supposed to be, like, back together there, so if it wasn't for Jinbei, he would be number 4 right now. So while I don't think he'd have a very pleasant matchup against any member of the monster trio slash quartet, I think that he is far and away probably the strongest member of the Straw Hats besides those 4. This may confuse some people, since in my video where I was ranking the strength of the Straw Hats, before Jinbei joined the crew I had Robin at 4 and Brook at 5, but that was not anywhere near as far as we are now in the story with all the ridiculous things that Brook accomplished in Whole Cake Island, and we have not really seen much from Robin at all. I think he's a monster compared to my original estimations before Whole Cake Island. One of the things that is so scary about Brook is that, with possibly the exception of Sanji, he likely has the highest combat speed in the crew, and he might even be above Sanji. I probably would have at first said that he was probably faster than him in combat. However, in Whole Cake Island, Sanji was able to move so fast that he was able to kick Oven in the face, and no one, including Oven, who has observation haki, had any idea what even happened. So, I mean, I don't know, like, we haven't seen Brook accomplish anything like that, so it's pretty hard to say that he could really have higher combat speed. I understand, I know a lot of people like to say that Oda, came out and said that Brook is the fastest member of the crew, but he was specifically saying in a 100-meter race, Brook would win. That's not necessarily talking about combat speed at all, really. But I don't think we need to talk about his speed too much. I mean, almost immediately after he's introduced in the series, we get to see him just walking by people and them fucking exploding because he's attacking them so quickly that no one can even see it. I think that we all get that. Why don't we talk about his devil fruit? One of the strangest devil fruits in the series that at the beginning seemingly had no really useful abilities for him to use, the devil fruit that gave him the name Soru King, the reason that he is the Soul King, the Yomi Yomi no Mi, aka the Revive fruit. So for anyone who is confused as to how his devil fruit works, because I sure was for the longest time, pretty much when he died, his soul was disconnected from the world along with his body since it decomposed and everything. But since he had eaten his devil fruit, his soul was able to roam the earth until he found his body again. So despite it being decomposed and not having any muscles or really any way to move, the body is now powered by his soul, pretty much, and he's able to do things like cry and move and anything that he could do if he actually had muscles and whatnot. You would think that this would just be neutral then and not really give him any benefit, but because he is so light, just being a skeleton and whatnot, although having the same strength that you would if you were more than a skeleton, he is able to be extremely light and move very fast because of it, and even run on water for a short period of time. It's actually pretty overpowered, especially considering he is a devil fruit user, so it's almost impossible for him to sink, I guess, as long as it's not like a massive body of water. He is also able to avoid lethal damage much more easily, considering he doesn't really have any vitals or places that, if they're destroyed, he dies. I mean, even when his head was decapitated, he was able to put it back together just by using the power of his soul energy. It also appears if his ribs are broken or his skull is cracked or something, he can just repair them within seconds by drinking milk. I thought that was a meme at first, but now that we kind of have a better idea of how his devil fruit works, it makes a lot more sense, and it's actually pretty overpowered. Brook also has the ability to take this soul energy and wrap it around different items, such as his cane sword, which gives it a, freezing kind of aura. It's pretty overpowered. You should really go back to Fishman Island and check it out. I can't believe it's a real thing, but yeah, it's supposed to be the chill of the underworld, supposedly, which is this ability he has, because I guess his soul is from the underworld to an extent or something. I don't know. It's pretty powerful, though. Now, moving on to things we've actually seen him do since the time skip. The first thing I want to talk about, because it's more recent, we don't need to be talking about Fishman Island or whatnot for the most part. Something I think a lot of people overlook is his exchange with Sheepshead. Now, it may have seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal at the time because we didn't really know what it meant at all, but Brook was able to go kind of toe-to-toe with Sheepshead. I mean, it was the smallest exchange ever. He was able to just stop his attack, which seemed to be a pretty powerful one. I mean, Brook kind of was like taken aback by it, and he seemed pretty confident in himself when he was using it. And then, Sanji comes in and just wipes the floor with him. So it kind of makes it seem like, oh wow, Sanji's so much more powerful than Brook. Brook sucks. But we didn't really get to see more from him, and he didn't do a bad job. At the very least, from what we were able to tell, he went even with Sheepshead. And again, at the time, that may have not seemed so impressive. However, now that we're getting into Wano and learning about the structure of Kaido's crew, we know that Sheepshead is a headliner, and more importantly, not, exactly knowing what this means, but he was supposedly the headliner in charge of the gifters or whatever. So I guess maybe he, is a headliner who's just supposed to be in charge of them? I don't know. Is he just the one that they report to? If that's the case, that's a pretty big deal, considering that's, kind of Kaido's whole thing. He wants to have just a ton of gifters in his crew, and if Sheepshead's in charge of them, it should make him pretty powerful, right? I don't know, maybe that's just speculation, but I think it's at least a decent point. And even if he's not, if he's just some regular headliner, it's not like they're supposed to be weak. I mean, as far as we know, Hawkins is in fact a headliner, as well as X-Drake was at a time, and he could only have gone up from that point. So it's definitely a pretty decent role. I mean, it's the only thing under Calamity. You have Jack, Queen, King, or X-Drake, or whatever it is. You get the three most powerful people besides Kaido, who are all Yonko commanders. I mean, they're pretty much gods in their own right. Luffy would have, a battle to the death with them. And then you have the headliners. And that's what he is. And Brook did pretty well against him in the short period he was given. So I'm thinking he's pretty powerful. Then we move on to the Whole Cake Island arc, where Brook truly shows his godlike talents. I mean, seriously, I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's mind who actually read or watched this arc. And you can't say that he wasn't the MVP. I mean, and not just, with his ridiculous abilities that we got to see. His combat style and ability just off the charts compared to what we're used to. But, I mean, his practicality, his support ability was just unbelievable. Did we see the amount of power plays this guy was making? But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's not really the point of what we're talking about here. Let's talk about how he goes into the chess room with all the soldiers and pretty much just conquers Haki's them. I mean, it wasn't conquers Haki, but it had the same effect pretty much. Since he is the Soul King and those things were powered by souls, he's just like, yep, it's just go time. I'm going to absolutely annihilate these things, and he did. They all just passed out, and it was easy mode from there on out for him. It's true that 99% of the time that ability is going to be completely useless because, I mean, who really is something just powered by a soul? I mean, that's pretty much just kind of restricted to things on Whole Cake Island because it has to do with Big Mom almost every time and her Devil Fruit. However, it's not like this is the first time his weird Devil Fruit abilities have come in handy. It happens more than you'd expect, so it's, worth mentioning. Not to mention, it wasn't all chess soldiers there. There were some guards that he had to defeat, and they seemed decently powerful, probably stronger than any of the chess soldiers, so that was pretty good. He does that and just immediately starts copying the Poneglyph, to which then Big Mom walks in, and he's just like, alright, it's time to solo this bitch. It's gonna be easy, I'm gonna do it. Of course, he was not able to solo Big Mom. However, he was able to sustain a considerable amount of damage and continue to get back up time and time again and actually damage Prometheus. I mean, that is pretty impressive. It is one of her three best homies, pretty much, which, as we've seen in the story, are extremely powerful. So go Brook, that was a huge move, and he didn't end up dying. I mean, she could have killed him, of course, but she did end up taking him in, and despite being damaged quite a bit, he was able to survive. In the battle during the wedding, not just was Brook trying to once again have another go at fighting Big Mom, but he again had his head decapitated and just came back together. I mean, it's like this guy, he's just unstoppable. Finally, just as another show of his ridiculous speed, after Carrot used her Sulong form and she became pretty much incapacitated from overusing it, I believe that's how it works, he decides he's just going to sprint across the water, go get her, and sprint back to the Sunny. I mean, it's completely ridiculous the things he can do because of his Devil Fruit and the way his body is, but I absolutely love it. So where does all this information leave us? How strong is Brook? Where would he be placed in, like, if Luffy was to become a Yonko, which, I mean, he kind of already is, but, like, how would he face up against other Yonko crews? I would like to think, with everything we've seen, that he would be, like, a, you know, Yonko, not commander, but, like, whatever's below that in a crew. Like, you know, if Kaido has the Calamities as his Yonko commanders, then the headliners would be, like, the sub-commanders, I guess you could call them. And in the Big Mom crew, where Big Mom has her 3 Yonko commanders, Cracker, Smoothie, and Katakuri, the sweet commanders, her sub-commanders would be like Oven and Daifuku and Perospero, all those guys, the guys who are like, you know, next in line after the top dog. So, I mean, if Luffy was to really hit Emperor status, and his 3 commanders would be obviously Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei, that would mean that Brook should be, like, right below them, right? He would be, like, a sub-commander level person, and possibly the strongest of all of them on the Straw Hat crew, because I really could see all of them becoming, like, sub-commander level, if not even, like, higher than most sub-commanders. I'm using the word commander and sub-commander a lot, but I mean, what do you want me to do here? So yeah, I mean, especially with what we've seen so far out of the headliners in Wano, I mean, come on, like, we all saw that chapter yesterday. Luffy just red hawks this guy, and he's dead pretty much. Come on, I mean, we haven't really seen how he's doing, but it just seemed a little too easy to me. This guy was really confident, and it just didn't work out too well. I mean, Sheep's Head, again, Brook even earlier on was able to fight decently against him, so I could definitely see Brook being there now. When I talk about the sub-commanders on Big Mom's crew, I don't know, they seem a little bit more powerful, but I could see Brook being right around there, maybe a little bit below them, but definitely stronger than them towards the end of the series. So I guess all in all, I am putting him somewhere around medium Yonko sub-commander level. That's pretty specific, but I mean, you know, what did you come here for, right? So that's pretty much all I have to say on this topic. Brook is definitely a lot stronger of a character than I originally anticipated, and I think there's a decent gap between him and actually really any direction you go on the crew. I mean, above him, I think, you know, either Sanji or Jinbei being the next strongest. They're probably significantly stronger than him. They could beat him quite easily, low to mid difficulty. I don't think they're getting anywhere near mid difficulty, honestly. And below him, I'd say the next strongest is probably Robin. I think it's probably Robin, and I think there's a decent gap there. So he's got like his own spot on the Straw Hats. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about this video, if you enjoyed it, if you thought it was stupid, if I have no idea what I'm talking about. Brook is one of the weakest members of the Straw Hat. His fruit isn't really that useful. It's weird ability, and it's kind of like hacks that only make sense when the plot needs it to. Also, feel welcome to check the description and join my Discord. It is a fun place to go. I got a ton of different channels to talk about different series, mainly about One Piece, but different series as well, like 7 Deadly Sins, My Hero, Attack on Titan. Mainly about One Piece, though. There's a lot of discussion, versus battles, discussions, and whatnot, fictional Devil Fruit ideas. It's a cool place. Make sure to check it out. You don't need to use the voice chat or anything. Most people don't. They just talk in the, you know, text chats. With all that being said, I hope you guys have an excellent rest of your day, a great start to your weekend, and I will talk to you soon.